Hi, I'm Lily from the Cardiff and South East Wales JLD, and today we're going to be asking some people in the Cardiff legal community what it means to them for Black History Month.
Hi, my name's Lauren. I'm currently on a placement year paralegaling at Hugh James Solicitors in the Clinical Negligence Department, and I'm also a straight law student at Cardiff University.
Okay, so Lauren, my first question for you. For the recent Black History Month in October, the theme was action, not words. What does that mean to you?
I think for me, especially in like the law field, it means that a lot of firms and people working in that industry need to be making proactive movements to ensure that diversity and Black talent is being recognised and being grown. And I think that's definitely recognised in the legal trend right now of equality and diversity. But again, it needs to be less of a title and more of an action and reaction to make sure that's being reflected.
Yeah, and not to put you on the spot, but you said trend there, right?
Yeah.
In what way do you think that's a good trend, or do you think it can be a slightly dangerous trend if people don't use it as an education opportunity?
No, 100%. This is something I've really thought about. I think it's definitely refreshing to see it out there, but also it's kind of come out of the blue, which is a bit worrying for me. This like whole term of D&I, equality and diversity, has definitely been used a lot more recently within the past year. Like it's been that recent. And I think it's definitely refreshing to recognise, and a lot of firms are doing a lot of events to reflect that. But again, it kind of can't be just a term. It has to be a movement. It has to be actual action, proactive action to make sure that title is becoming a reality.
Right, kind of goes back to like actions speak louder than words.
100%,
so yeah,
100%.
Completely agree with that. And this is more of a personal question, but who's your biggest inspirational role model and why?
I'm gonna be cheesy and say my mom.
Aww.
Only because she is the one that singularly pushed me into the career path I'm in now. Obviously, I wanted to do law for my own reasons, but she's the one that kind of saw who I was in my personality and said, you know, of all the things I was doing as a child, the crazy things I was doing, she was like, I could really see you doing this as a career path. And then, even though she didn't know a lot about law herself, whenever she saw like an opportunity pop up, she would email it to me straight away and go, oh, you should sign up to do this, and you know, look here and things like that. So she's always been like number one supporter.
Oh,
just like told me that you can do it.
Shout out to Lauren's mom.
Shout out mom. Yeah. So no, it's like even though it's like cheesy and like classic, like she genuinely.
No, that is very sweet though. I think it's important though to have that kind of 100% drive. So I'm gonna have to read this out here because it's a very important quote. But the recent former president of the Law Society, Stephanie Boyce, said, "Black people often experience racism and discrimination. Then they are expected to fix it. This must change. A third of Black, African, and Caribbean solicitors say they have experienced some form of discrimination or bullying in the workplace, the highest figure reported by any ethnic group." Have you ever seen or ever experienced yourself discrimination in your own legal career?
In my career so far, I would say I've been blessed enough not to. However, that doesn't mean I've not seen it I've not seen it happen to other people. Some friends, some family, not just in the legal career, just in everyday life as it does happen.
Right.
Have, you know, experienced racism, microaggressions, colorism. The spectrum is very vast,
right,
but
absolutely.
you know, within the umbrella of racism. But I think that within that quote itself, the fact that we're expected to create the conversation or create the solution, it can become very draining. I've definitely there's been times I've had to have conversation with friends or with peers to kind of correct their political way of thinking or speaking, you know, to make that politically correct or inclined. But it shouldn't just be political. It should just be the way that we speak and the way we treat each other with respect and with equality. But yeah, I think it's time that everybody kind of gets involved in that conversation and just making sure that it's all scale across. Yeah.
And do people usually receive it as like an education opportunity? Do they normally take that on board or do they seem a little bit standoffish? Are they?
Yeah, it can depend. I'm known to talk quite a lot. So some people,
we love it.
So some people kind of just brush it off as me just talking and not actually listening to what I have to say.
Right.
So I think it becomes a factor of having to make sure what you're saying has some weight to it and making sure you're really getting the point across in the most succinct and powerful way as possible. Right. And that way people are more inclined to kind of take it in and digest what you're saying, and in a way that's relative to their experience, in a way that they can digest it as well.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to describe it, actually. And what would you like to see change for the BAME community in the legal field?
I think definitely more ways of recognizing and exploiting that talent, and exploiting obviously in a positive sense, in that there are so many talented black or mixed individuals or black heritage individuals who aren't getting the same recognition, or have, you know, a lot of socioeconomic issues preventing them from achieving their goals. And as a Caribbean heritage individual myself, a lot more Caribbean talent in the legal field as well.
Right.
I feel like I went to an open day at Hogan Lovells to do with their Caribbean desk, and it was that moment that I realised I've never been in a room where all the individuals were black, but were also all Caribbean as well. It tends to be that most of the time I'm one of few Caribbean people in the room. So I think that's definitely an important aspect, but of course, just black talent everywhere.
Yeah.
We'd love to see it.
Love to see it.
my people
Yeah,
thrive, so.
it's good to see more
It's
representation.
great.
I think a lot of places are moving that way, but I think it definitely could be improved as
Yeah.
well. And what advice would you give to others in the legal field that would better support the BAME community, like individuals like myself? How could I better support my
100%.
colleagues and people like that?
I think first of all, kind of researching where there are lacks of support, and perhaps where an individual may be at an advantage, where somebody may be at a disadvantage, and that's not just to do with race, that's across the board. I believe that's so important. And just realising where your privileges are, because I'm privileged to some other people who are in other communities who have other struggles whilst getting into the legal career, and I try to make myself really aware of that. So I think that's step number one. And step number two is just kind of providing support for those people. If they're struggling and you know a scheme or an experience or anything, or you perhaps may have a contact who is putting on an event that could be so helpful, so inclined for that person's experience, just put them on it, really. I've been a member of RARE, I've been a member of Aspiring Solicitors, and those two schemes have really helped me in my experiences. And you know, it took me a while to even get to know them, because I didn't even know they existed. And so now I'm like singing their praises from the rooftops. So people like coming up in years below, or you know, that are still in their A levels, I'm saying get on this now, get this experience, because it really is helpful and it makes a difference.
And for the people who might not know who it is, do you mind describing exactly what RARE and Aspiring Solicitors is?
100%. So Aspiring Solicitors, it's like a scheme, almost like a program. You have to apply to get onto both of them, but they help you put you into contact with the Magic Circle firms in London, so like Hammersmith, Freehills, Hogan Lovells, I already mentioned them as well. And they mainly focus on ethnic, minority and social mobility students, as well as disability students as well, and LGBT community students, and just helping those kind of social minority groups have more visibility and have more availability into those larger law firm experiences. They also provide other things like vaccine preparation and application preparation, as does RARE as well. So both schemes are really, really important and just really supportive in all those communities.
That's great. And is it a volunteer opportunity for people that can get back into it?
So that's one thing that they really encourage as well, as once you've kind of moved on to the next stage, whether you get a vac scheme or not, when you postgraduate, whatever it is, to kind of reach your hand back down the ladder. And I myself am already trying to do that whilst being a member of those schemes, letting other people know these schemes exist, get on them whilst you can. But 100%, when it gets the chance, I would love to be there and kind of be a mentor to people and just help them out and help bring them up the ladder. I think it's really important.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for your insight, Lauren. I just have one final question for you. It's a bit of a personal question. What are your personal goals, ambitions in your legal career? Where do you want to go?
So I've always seen myself being a solicitor. No offense to the barristers out there, but it's just not for me. But no, I've always wanted to be a solicitor. At the moment, I'm kind of juggling a few ideas, but I'm kind of leaning down the litigious route and dispute resolution. Always envisioned myself working in London, but I do enjoy Cardiff, I'm not gonna lie. So, I mean, I may stay in Cardiff at the moment, but London is kind of where I'm aiming towards. But yeah, at the moment, seeing as I've had quite a bit of exposure to the Magic Circle firms, I'm like, why not aim big?
Yeah, shoot for the moon.
Yeah, literally.
Shoot
So
for the moon.
stressing about vacation applications right now, but I'm working through it. So
you got it. Best of luck, Lauren, and thank you so much.